Hey guys, welcome back. Better Than a Let's Play, episode 34. I'm Enigmius. And we broke it again. You'll notice a dramatic reduction in frame rates. And you're looking at the reason why. Our testificate population management system has failed. What I was expecting to be a population cap of approximately 24 testificates is not working. We have, I would guess, well over 100, and they're still breeding. All those hearts indicate breeding testificates, and they just won't stop. You can see there's more babies running around than we were supposed to have testificates total. They're just all over the place. And what's more, when you get this many testificates, the doors, they have nowhere to go. They have no reason to be messing around with the doors, but they just won't stop. It's relentless. It's ongoing. And it's just sort of the trend every time. Oh, look at this guy, just with the parkour and the jump kicking in the face, in the face. And of course, there's no police. There's no golems. There's nobody to stop it. It's just lunacy, and it's completely out of control. Which, you know, is kind of the way of things. Whenever we take on a mega project, it doesn't matter what it is. Every single mega project we've ever taken on, something goes horribly wrong and breaks the game. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because we were pretty much on the final stages of this build anyways, and then we were going to start Season 2 with a new mod pack, fresh start, so we're going to continue on as though none of this is happening, and we're going to get it done. Now, I mentioned previously that our biggest remaining project was to fill in the lower levels with something. We've got the 2 upper penthouse levels, we've got the giant turbine, we've got the breeding wings, and now we have this big cavernous open area underneath. We did the walls, the exterior walls for that in the last episode. Now we have to finish the interior. Now, I've mentioned in previous episodes, previous series, I can't say I don't like large, barren, flat floors. I just kind of feel like if you've got this huge open area, sometimes it's easy to forget that there's a limit to how much space we can actually use. And if we can break up that big, giant open area and give some visual interest, something that draws our eye that isn't just a plain old floor, then sometimes that's better than just having a big, fat, plain old floor. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I can't really call it an oval cutout, but it is a uniform pattern. It's sort of the 2 long curved edges and then the short curved edges on the ends that come together. Again, just something to add interest. It's not a functional element necessarily, even though one of the things that I discovered is that getting testificates down might be a bit of a challenge. Now, I decided I wanted to try and mess around with microblocks and see if I can't smooth out the edges like we've been doing with pretty much everything else, or at least the exterior of everything else on this build. The dimensions are a little bit wonky for doing that. Now, I may fiddle with it a little bit and try and come up with something that works, even if it means adjusting the dimensions a little bit of the opening so that we can make it smooth. I may just leave it. But one of the things that I did want to have is this. The energized glowstone from the thermal expansion mod. The interesting part about it is that it flows upwards instead of down like water, and it also acts as a light source. You can see when this column came up, you could see the darkness slowly being pushed away. An additional benefit is that when you're standing in it, you can basically ride it down like a column of water, and you can't drown in it, which is very good when we're talking about moving testificates around, is that they can stand in it, it'll lower them down without killing them from fall damage, and they can't drown in it while they're enjoying the voyage. So that's all well and good, but the one thing that I forgot is that you can't place the energized glowstone above height 120, or it basically freezes, so to speak, into a block of glowstone, which kind of counterproductive. As well, the columns of flowing liquid energized glowstone won't go above height 120, they just stop. So in this case, the ceiling is at like height 123 or something, so the columns stop with a gap of 2 blocks between the last block of the liquid glowstone and the ceiling, which is actually kind of cool because it means we don't have to mess around too much with the ceiling to try and keep from making a mess with the glowstone. So that was kind of convenient, but also not being able to use it above a certain height kind of changed certain plans later on. Now you can see it doesn't really take much to fill in the floor. We've got kind of a change in the dimensions of the hole moving upwards so that it kind of flares out ever so slightly. If you were to be at the top looking down, you would see that it kind of narrows and gets smaller towards the bottom. Not because I had to, but because why not? We have the option to do it, so we might as well muck about and have a little bit of fun. And of course, you see that means there's absolutely no way that testificates can get across to the far side once they go down, or actually before they get down to a certain level. And I'm okay with that too, because if we were going to, continue the build, if we were going to stick around and make long-term use of this, it wouldn't take much at all to build some sort of bridge across if we wanted to. Portal, something this, something that. Now, one of the things that I'd completely forgotten about that I could be using to herd the testificates is apparently grass blocks. They love the grass blocks. If you can get grass blocks into your structure, they will all sort of gravitate towards that instead of trying to find the nearest one, even though they can't get to it, and just clumping up in the corner somewhere, because that's kind of what they're doing now. They're just all clumped up and trying to get somewhere that they can't get to. So again, if this was going to be a long-term structure where we wanted to, have the testificates at least spread out so that you could trade with them somewhat effectively, then that's what we would do. Is we would punch some holes in the ceiling all the way up to light, and then we would set up grass blocks so that we could control where they congregate. Although I know now in my heart of hearts that eventually, if we let it run long enough, that still wouldn't be enough to stop the population explosion. It would just sort of contribute to it, I think. Now this is the exterior on the back side of the structure. I should have known by the gaping hole that there was a problem, which is fine. You can still see the structure itself that we built, and I promised that I would show you once I finished with the microblocks and the detailing, kind of got it done. There's not a whole lot to see. It was just I didn't want to do a really sort of lame finished straight walls kind of thing. So we built it out a little bit, and then this is after having finally recognized what our problem was with the testificates, the population explosion, the misbehaving. We needed to expedite the process of getting them downstairs. Now, I don't really care at this point if they start, harming themselves. See, they're already starting to die. Every once in a while, you'll see the flash of one falling to his death. That's how eager they are to get away from one another. Now, I'm building this out of glass, and I realized after I was kind of done and looking at the footage that it's really difficult to see because the connected textures basically makes the glass invisible when you start placing blocks next to one another. But rest assured, we are building out of glass. We're not just flying around for no reason whatsoever. And the whole idea is that I want to use water, because we can't use the liquid glowstone. We're going up too high for that to work. I want to use water to give them a way to get down safely, and then once they're down, they're not going to come back up. It takes too much effort and thought to get back up, and that's not what testificates are all about. They're just kind of they're there, and if they get swept away down to a lower level with water, they're going to stay down in that lower level. And that's exactly what we're aiming for. You can see they're escaping. They're scaling the mountain walls now. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. And this is right where I'm working now is when I realized that as low as the frame rate was at the beginning of the video when I was showing you what was going on and moving around, when I'm recording the time lapse, in addition to all of that, the frame rate for me drops down to maybe 2 to 3 frames per second. Very difficult to build at that speed. But we didn't have much farther to go, and it's not a particularly complicated thing. It's just like a stepped sort of structure. Every few blocks down, you have a block out, and then down, and then out, and then down. Kind of like a waterfall setup. So that, again, we're trying to limit the opportunity that they have to fall to their deaths by making things drop down too far, and also, if we can, limiting the potential for them to drown in the waterfall. And again, we've got so many testificates. If they do end up drowning, then that's a thing, and we just have to accept it. There's nothing we can do about it. That's their own fault for just standing in the water. God, there's a lot of them. So many more than 25. Why do we do this to ourselves? Now, with the structure done, all there's left to do, really, is put in the water. Just water source blocks. And starting from the bottom and working up, because I figured it would be a little bit easier that way. Realistically, I could have started at the top and worked down. It wouldn't have made a difference. But in this case, sometimes we make plans and we have a reason for doing it, and then we realize that it wasn't really a reason. It was just arbitrary. That's what we get. Now you can see the testificates. They're making their way down, and of course a lot of them escaped. They're scaling the side of the mountain now. They escaped when we were opening up the breeding wing to the waterfall area. So the next episode, we're going to wrap it all up. Stick around, subscribe, like, comment, do all that stuff. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.